let's talk to Carpe Diem calling in from Colorado, who wants to ask me something that I might go on a rant about, but we'll see. Carpe Diem, what's going on?
Well, to be completely honest, Dan, I just want to hear your rant. It's been months that you've been talking about wanting to talk about QAnon, and nobody calls you to talk about it. And the first conversation you guys were having about how secular way of thinking versus religious way of thinking. And I know there's a big intersect between the QAnon, conspiracists and religious people.
Yeah.
But technically, it's not necessarily a religious conspiracy, right? It's secular. It's just some really weird shit. But
you say technically, but there's QAnon churches out there. I don't know if you know about that,
right? So it's cultish, right?
Yeah. No.
So basically, I want to talk about that and how it has inspired, even without a direct supernatural component, lots of evil after what happened in the Capitol. So what do you think about that?
I'll tell you. So I think. When I wanted to talk about conspiracies and stuff on this show, I think people, at first kind of thought, oh, this was a fun thing to do. It's fun to explore kind of these kind of weird out there ideas. And yeah, that's true. That's a part of the reason why I talk about this, but also just because I've been beating this drum for a little bit now, I see in these trends, I can point you back to a tweet where I made I don't know if it was a year ago now, but it was a while saying hey, we need to talk about QAnon stuff because stuff is going to happen. And the Capitol stuff happened because of QAnon. I make no qualms about that. I don't think if QAnon's influence hasn't been as large as it has, people would have been as motivated to act. And QAnon is weird because it's in a mass of different ideas, some religious, some not. But it's basically if the Avengers of conspiracy theories all came together in one movie, that's kind of what we're dealing with. So we're not just dealing with a single ideology or a single thought process that we can easily deconstruct. There's a lot of moving parts to it that make it really complex. I've been wanting to get some Q researchers on to talk about this more, and hopefully we'll be able to do it at a future episode. But for what I see now, and I've tried to say this too, Q isn't going to end now that Biden is president either. There's already people talking about stuff happening in March, and people are bringing in the sovereign citizen narrative of, the United States has actually been a corporation since 18 whatever that's owned by the city of London. That used to be just a sovereign citizen thing. Now I'm seeing Q people talk about it too, because it's this movement of people that are finally reading all of the stuff that David Icke wrote down 15 years ago, and other people who've talked about this and are just now kind of getting into it and aren't being fact checked on it, or if they are being fact checked, they just are in complete denial. So I don't know. I guess that's the start of my rant. I could literally talk about it for an hour, but it's not over. It's not going to be over. I think people should be wary of it, and people need to take it for the political force it is. We have more people who believe in QAnon in the House of Representatives right now than we have African Americans. Let's let that sink in. This is the country.
There was a lady. There was a lady that's been on the news a lot this week that apparently was one of the ones touting out the whole Hillary Clinton covered up the murder of a cop because she had a baby that was sacrificed or something like that. Right?
I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene has said some stuff like that, I think, but without, it's just really strange. We live in very, very strange times. But we just have to be on the watch for this stuff. I really wish people got into this more and looked at what these people were talking about so that we could be prepared to talk about it when appropriate with people who are open to listening to this. Because I think we've been doing the wrong thing. I think we've been saying, oh, this is all stupid and this is dumb, but I don't think enough people are getting to the minutia so that people understand the reasons why. Because it's one thing to just say, oh, this is all dumb. It's another thing to say, let me explain to you why this isn't correct.
How many Q believers?
Go ahead, Joey.
Go ahead.
I was wondering how many Q believers you guys personally know.
I have
I know a bunch.
there's people that I know who kind of take Q seriously and kind of don't. There's variance there too, but I know a couple that I've had conversations with, and it's sad.
Unfortunately, I live in a town that is very primarily Trump supporters, and I've bumped into people in the streets that proselytize Q, like literally passing out pamphlets that it seems like they're almost like the church people, right? They stand in the corner and passing out these conspiracy theories. Now, what I really wanted to talk about is back to the first conversation you had, how dangerous it can be to have these beliefs without evidence that's unquestionable, and that we should attack those beliefs because they lead to like severe threats against property and against people, and that QAnon isn't a joke. It's something that is actually hurting people, right?
Right.
But the people who believe in it are as dogmatic as believers that believe in God and the Bible and all that stuff. So
yes,
and with even less reason sometimes.
Yeah.
So if you guys could go back in time, like 5 years, and you are put on like a government task force of dealing with conspiracy theories that are potentially violent, like what would your strategy even be?
So this has always been a thing. This has always been an undercurrent, at least in the United States and in the political sphere and stuff. It doesn't. Everybody has always known that this has been a thing. But the problem was, for a while, the stereotype you always saw was, oh, it's just your crazy uncle that lives in a basement. That posts about it on
9/11.
That kind of stuff. That the bread and butter kind of just okay. It was easy to identify because you never meet someone that just believes in one conspiracy theory. It's never just one, typically, right? But I think what we're seeing now is just the narratives that come out of it, not necessarily the original sources, but just the ideas are flowing into mainstream conversation. I think if more people knew about where the stuff was coming from, and if it was taken at its source and deconstructed, I think people might better be prepared. A lot of people don't realize that some of the talking points that like the sovereign citizen stuff. If I ask the Q person, hey, do you know what a sovereign citizen even is? Do you know what these people believe? Do you know what they're talking about? I'm guessing a lot of them don't, or at least don't understand it, like the history of this other movement and why they talk about this and the laws that they're citing. Because like, if you understand the history of something, if you understand where it's coming from, it makes it easier to kind of dismiss and realize that it lacks credibility. But if you think that it's coming from good sources, I mean, that's literally what people think Q is. They think it's coming from a government source, an intergovernment organization of people working to fight against, the deep state, which is also the government, but not the same government. Don't get it confused. I think that would help. But to be honest with you, Joey, I don't know. I think this is something that everybody's been asking, and a lot of experts have been asking, and I don't know if there's a clear consensus on what to do. But I'll keep talking about it. I'll keep fighting it.
I have one last controversial for you, right? So, like you said, it feels like conspiracy theory endgame, right? Like let's put a bunch of these conspiracy theories together and have an army of conspiracy that's unbeatable, right? So even if you take away dream, you still have we are a legion, right? So we have more that can stand. I wonder if this is a byproduct of freedom of speech and how the government uses that freedom of speech. Like even having government officials having the freedom to say whatever they want. What do you think about as a means to control this kind of thing, to kind of hinder the speech of government officials, so that if it is demonstrably true that they basically did something akin to perjury, but not in the court of law, just like purposely deceiving the public with that information, that there could be some repercussions to them. So what do you think about that proposition?
Well, I guess I'll go on this first because I want to hear your thoughts too, Joey. But it's like, we do have regulation of our speech already. You can't yell fire in a movie theater. That's one of the things people talk to. People are okay with that. Ostensibly, you can't manipulate the stocks. Although GameStop this week, that whole situation might have something to say otherwise. But like we already kind of have these rules. I don't think they've been always super enforced. And I don't know even if legislation would be as effective anyway. Like honestly, Twitter banning the president has been more effective. Well, one of the most effective moves any company has made ever, or any even body has made ever, to curb stop some of this stuff than I don't know if any kind of legislation would, beyond like a massive overhaul of how we do speech everywhere. So is that to say that we need to rely on companies to make these decisions? I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows, but like, I know that they should have done that a long time ago. I think that's true. So yeah,
one of the weirdest things about this month was someone posted a thread of Navalny on Twitter talking about how it was bad precedent to ban Donald Trump.
Yeah,
and seeing something like that, you're just like, shit. Yeah. What do we do?
Yeah,
what do we do?
It's not great. I'm not super comfortable with it. You know, like I think it is kind of a crazy precedent. Yeah,
and it has a radicalizing element. I mean, of course, Twitter is an independent company. They can do whatever they want to some extent. And
but look what happened this week. Look what happened this week with you. I'm taking this to current events for those in the future. This is January 29th, 2021. But like Wall Street bets on Reddit was banned. And, well, they were privated for a while, and tons of stock sites weren't allowing you to buy certain stocks in GameStop. And what happened? People just kept talking about it on Twitter. They kept sharing out on Facebook, and it's still going on as of right now. How effective was it? Even all of these companies trying to do something about it. I don't know. I don't know if there might not be an answer to this.
That's a good point. But it did prevent a bunch of people from buying stock at certain points.
It did. And to be clear, let me say this. I think what Twitter did with the situation with our former president was the right thing to do. I think they should have done it a long time ago. I think it was too late, but you know,
I don't.
But
I still don't even know. I mean, because how would that have changed our perspective of him as a president to see the way he acts in when he just wants to have a direct line of communication? Like, I mean, we probably would have still had
we would have seen less of it. I mean, how many tweets did we lament over in these past couple of years of just like what is going on? What is happening? Like, and we would have seen less of that, at least, you know. I don't know. It's not a solved issue in my mind. I haven't made up my mind on it, and that's all. We're about done with this, Carpe. We got all the callers. Yeah.
Sure. I'll see you guys on Discord. I have a follow-up. See you guys.
All right. Sounds good, Carpe. Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that talks about it and then says at the end, yeah, but I don't know. But like, I don't know though. We've talked about this a couple times recently. But I think anybody that says that they completely understand the full ramifications of something like this definitely doesn't know what they're talking about. But at the same time, I'm not one of those absolutists when it comes to free speech. I think I used to be. I think I used to be the person that says absolutely under no circumstances should this be happening. But I've seen a lot these past couple of years where I've seen how the speech is harmed. And I'm like, I think that there has to be something we can do. It's just, it's dangerous. It is dangerous. Yeah.
A lot of that, I mean, there's got to be like antitrust stuff with Facebook and a change of incentive structures, which almost feels like it would need to be a bottom-up thing. Like, imagine telling someone like to pay a monthly fee for social media, but like it didn't have like the awful incentive structures that the current social media platforms do.
There's
that's
at least one site
unbelievable.
There, I can't remember the name of it, But
case in point.
yeah, but yeah, it's true. Like the cat's out of the bag. The internet's been, well, it's not free, but it's like the information systems we have are so accessible to the point that they're being abused for their accessibility. And
or that abuse is the only way to actually make a profit off of these things. I mean, there are like the few exceptions, like Signal, which is like a nonprofit.
Yeah.
But how, like, for example, like Robinhood, that we all learned, we all think Robinhood was a great app, and then we learned this week that they sell our data the way Facebook does, and like they don't prioritize their users' experiences. And you're just like, that of course they don't. That totally makes sense because we're getting this for free.
Here's the point I will make it. I've made this on the show before, I think, but our speech was never free when it came to stuff like Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. We were always subject to algorithms. We were always subject to settings on that site and how that information was presented. The game was rigged from the start. The question is, how are we going to change those rules? Because those rules are already there, and there are always going to be terms and conditions on any site you use. Even if they say there's none, you're still going to be subject to federal laws or international laws. So like there's always going to be something there. So we just got to figure out what it is. What's the best way to do it? I don't know. That's my expert analysis. I don't know.